Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Jeremy and this is my lovely wife Jess. And on this channel, we're helping you create the home that you love with the money you have.
Yeah, so today we're gonna share with you guys 15 different tools that we think every homeowner needs. Whether you're going to do DIYs or not, you need some tools.
We are going to start off pretty basic, and as we get closer to number 15, they'll be a little bit less basic. However, they will all still be tools that we feel are pretty much bare bones for what you need to have in your house for any homeowner. So first off, we're starting with the mighty screwdriver.
Sorry, I need a screwdriver.
I'm sorry, I'm all out of vodka.
And really, when it comes to a screwdriver, you're gonna want, if you just want one screwdriver that can kind of do a little bit of everything, you're gonna want a 10-in-1 screwdriver. Basically, a 10-in-1 screwdriver has Phillips head and flathead bits, as well as when you pull those out, those are also, the spot that's left there also is a nut driver with the varying sizes of nut drivers within those. They also have some other bits that are included in there, a smaller flathead. So it does a whole lot, it packs a lot of a punch, and it really is a one-stop shop for a screwdriver.
So next up on our list are gonna be needle nose pliers. These are gonna come in handy for so many different things. Not only are they great, if you get the Klein brand, they're able to strip a wire if you're doing electrical or cutting wire. And then also if you're a mom, I did have to use one of these one time to get a jelly bean out of our son's nose.
Come again?
Next up on our list is the channel lock pliers. Now, channel lock are actually a brand of pliers, but I've always just called them channel locks because that's what my dad called them, and that's how we roll. Basically, there's different brands, different kinds. They're just a slip joint pliers. Honestly, my favorite are these really small ones, and they're from, I always call them Nippics. They lock. They have a locking button there on the side, and they're the most handy pair that I have.
Next up are flashlights. I personally prefer the vintage ones over these modern day ones, but we do still have a couple of these laying around. Here's the thing, we do have flashlights on our cell phones these days, but we don't want to waste our battery life when the power goes out using a flashlight on our phone. Something else that we really think all homeowners need are wall anchors. These ones right here are really great because they're able to just screw into the drywall. They have different weight capacities, so you can kind of choose what you need depending on the weight of the item that you're hanging on the wall. Now, if you are going with something a little bit lighter, maybe you don't need super strength, we really like these Hercules hooks.
Next up, crescent wrench. A lot of people call these an adjustable wrench. And honestly, you're better off to have a set of end wrenches, but just starting out, a crescent wrench will get you by. This one is dirt cheap from Harbor Freight. Honestly, like, we've had it for a long time and it works for what I need it to do. There are other options out there. The actual Crescent brand makes one. They're great, but again, if you're not going to buy a full set, crescent wrench will get you by. Every home needs a good hammer. There's just something about a hammer that makes you feel like a real homeowner. Or Thor. One or the other. But honestly, you need a hammer. Again, Harbor Freight. I've had this forever and it works fine. If you want to spend a few extra bucks, there are better ones out there. If I'm a homeowner, I'm probably going to refrain from getting the one that has like the fancy waffle head on it and stuff. You really don't need that, and especially if you're tapping into drywall, you'll end up just creating waffle patterns on your drywall. So they say that man's best friend is his dog. However, I would say second is WD-40. Every man loves WD-40 because you just never know when there's gonna be something that you're gonna have to just grease up, whether it's a door hinge. It's just one of those things you gotta have in your house.
So next up is gonna be the stud finder. I really wish I would have had a funny joke for this part, but I don't.
You're fake laughing too, right? Oh, the tears are real.
So we used to have a really cheap one for the longest time. We finally broke down, spent a little money, probably about 50 bucks on this one. It is so good. It shows you the edges of the studs, shows you the center. If you can, just spend a little extra money and get this one. A box knife. Pretty obvious, right? This is the perfect tool to cut down all of those Target boxes before your husband gets home. Just kidding. This is really handy for taking off maybe the light switch covers that sometimes stick. Maybe you're taking off trim. Perfect tool for that.
Occasionally in your home, you're gonna have to do something that you can't reach, and that's when you're gonna need a good step ladder. We've got a little giant ladder as well. It's a bigger, it does a little bit more, it has a few more features. Since we purchased this Gorilla step stool, we just find that we use it a whole lot less. One, it's lighter, and two, for an average homeowner, this is gonna do everything that you need inside. And honestly, I mean, like, I use it outside. I can reach up and clean out a gutter or something like that with this. And then also too, the steps on this fit your feet better, unless you've got just like big giant feet. Tape measures are always a good thing to have around. I recommend at least a 16 footer. Honestly, I've got a 25 as well, and the 25 has a magnetic tip on the end as well. That's also handy. I find most of the time I end up just going to the 16. It's a little smaller, it's a little easier to handle, and honestly, it works just as well.
Electric screwdrivers. These are super handy. We've had this Black & Decker one for about, I don't know, 14 years. And then if you want to be super bougie, Milwaukee makes one. These are perfect for maybe installing a light fixture, maybe installing shelves like what you see behind me. It's one of those things that gives you just enough power without stripping something out.
I've been accused of being a little OCD when it comes to keeping things square and level.
You have 2 levels?
I use this level to check the other levels. It's my level checking level.
And I will have to say guilty as charged because I love a good level. Here's the thing, if you're one of those people that doesn't use a level on the things that you hang or put in your house, please do us all a favor and use a level. If you don't, when we come over to your dinner party, I will probably adjust it a little bit just to straighten it out for you. You're welcome. And last up on our list is a good drill driver set. We recommend a 12-volt kit for the average homeowner. I've got a 20-volt kit as well from DeWalt, and honestly, I find that most of the time I go to these unless I'm really needing something for something a little beefier. If you think that you're going to be doing a little bit more heavier DIY stuff, maybe you're going to be drilling into concrete, things like that, I wouldn't start with a 12. I would probably go ahead and start with an 18 or a 20, depending upon which brand you go with. So what about you? Do you have a favorite tool that we left off of this list? We'd love to know what it is. Leave it in the comments below. Be sure and check back. We're going to do a follow-up video to this where we are going to go through a few more in-depth tools for the guy or gal that's looking to get a little further into the DIY spectrum of things. So be sure and watch for that. Other than that, y'all have a great week.
When you catch it, then you look at the camera.
Okay. Well, the mighty channel lock part. No, not channel lock. Crescent wrench. There's 2 channel locks.